essentially.
Yeah, I
How
think you
are
did it
you?
right last time too. So good, good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I titled this stream. I remember what I titled this stream. It was
We
like,
were AI all along, or
oh
something along those
yes,
lines.
we've been
Yeah,
AI the
yeah,
whole time. Ah,
yeah,
you can tell because I
yeah.
have 7 fingers. For folks
Mm.
listening, I have 5 on each hand.
Ah, you shouldn't have spoiled that for
I know,
them.
right? Well, we're not AI. At least I'm pretty sure if we are AI, we're so good that we don't think we're AI.
I mean, I did comment on before. We've never met in person, so we
We
don't
could
even know.
be AI.
Right.
Yeah, I titled the stream one because I wasn't really sure where we were going to go and talk about, but two, there's just been so much craziness this week of just people just straight up lying. I was like, why not? Why don't we just title
Mm.
the stream whatever the hell we want? We'll talk about whatever the hell we want, and we'll go from there. So, and then you made an interesting point though earlier about if it was clickbait or not. I don't know if it was clickbait.
I thought about that after I asked it. I was like, "What's the difference between clickbait
Yeah,
and
and
just a
just
flat out lie?"
fabrication.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
I think the thing behind clickbait is there's something that's teasing, I guess. Whereas like lies
Yeah.
don't necessarily have to be. You could just say something that's flat out wrong, and it's like, okay,
Yeah,
no one
yeah. Well,
cares.
and I feel like it's like intentionally misleading or
Yeah,
it's an over embellishment of the thing
yeah, perfect.
where you read it and you're just kind of like let down. Whereas like something that's totally fabricated is just totally fabricated. And I guess
Yeah,
I guess a fabricated lie is clickbait to some extent.
hmm
But
yeah,
it's also like lying is lying. And I want to make this point because I feel like it's 2026 and everybody just fucking lies all the time, and that's just not good. It's not going to turn out well, folks.
yeah. I mean, if you want to take it that far, I think the sad thing is that people know when something's a clickbait or a lie, and they still click
Yeah.
on it anyway.
Right. Well, and this is, we've talked through social media and like Devin and I talked about this too. It's like the rage bait thing is real. Like if you,
Mhm.
are politics is really easy, right? If you're a Trump supporter and someone says, Trump was unfairly treated, then you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. And you read it and it's not true. Or it's same way with, if you're not a Trump supporter and someone shares something about how, I don't know, Gavin Newsom is like, doing something and then but instead of you getting what you're wanting, pro Trump or anti Trump, you get the opposite and then you go share it. And now you're doing
Yeah,
the marketing work for whoever is doing this. And that's more of the clickbaity. Um, so yeah, we're all doomed. We're all AI. We're all not AI. No one really knows what's going on. But I think that's just kind of a PSA for me. It's been top of mind. Like, um, the problem with lying, even though when people know it's false, is that it just eventually becomes true, and you eventually start to question everything.
mm,
A lie told so often is true, or whatever the Goebbels quote
boy,
is. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know why it just clicked in my head, but as you were talking about something like that, I got really worried for the science academic community
yeah,
because they're emotional, but on a different kind of plane, I guess, right?
yeah,
And when you're talking about how the academic system works and the review process, when you're
yeah.
hit with something like a flood of AI generated papers, that draws your attention away from something that
Yep.
you actually should be focusing on, right?
Yeah, or someone trying to pull a fast one or fabricate or over embellish and
Right.
like, what seems like stretching the truth or what some people would call
Yeah,
a
exactly.
white lie now becomes a foundation of misbelief, and then it bubbles up and eventually and it's so funny to me because like the truth always comes out all the time. It's like a universal constant. It just might take a
Interesting.
really long time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Right, and if people look hard enough, they figure it out, but it's like everybody's so bombarded with so much crap all the time that, like, no one's really looking, and then we all just kind of give up, and that's how the
Yeah.
society falls and fails because everyone's just not even invested in, like, understanding, "Well, I think whatever Nathan says probably felt false, so I don't really care. I don't agree with it, so I don't care." Right, and then you get
Yeah.
apathy, and then nothing good comes from apathy.
Yeah, exactly. I think apathy is sort of like the lowest of the low points where,
Yeah.
it's even worse than if you had a negative perspective on something
Yeah,
because
because
it's
like,
like
if you're
you
depressed, most people figure it out or but with
mhm,
apathy, you don't really investigate the next step further, and you kind of just shortchange yourself from ever like growing because you're just like, you talk yourself out of it.
Yeah,
Um,
right, right. I mean, it's a good, I don't know why I didn't think of that word before, but, like, before we jumped on, we were talking
yeah,
about, like, people in work and how we on this podcast before have talked about, pushing yourself a little bit,
yeah,
changing your mindset when it comes to adopting AI. But at the same time, on the opposite end, you have this up or push down from these AI foundations or companies saying, we're going to be using AI. So
yeah,
I commented that this weird limbo that people are feeling in. And I think apathy is the right word to describe it, where people
yeah,
feel like they don't care anymore. Their job is going to be taken by AI, so why should they even try? Um, and that's a hard spot to be in. I don't know
yeah.
what to recommend in that situation.
When I think too that it comes to, we talked about like motivation a little bit. It's probably good to
Yeah,
talk through a little bit on the cast too, but uh when people are comfortable, they tend not to be innovative because they don't have constraints, and so you can apply false constraints and whatnot. There are very few people, and the skill set's quite rare, that if you do have a bunch of resources, you can also be very innovative. And we were kind of talking through like most of those people tend to be like new Americans or first generation Americans, at
mm,
least here in America, where they have an understanding of how bad it is elsewhere or how
wherever they're
much
from, right,
better it
right.
is here. And so there's like an excitement or there's like a willingness to kind of push forward, but you lose that very quickly over generation. This is true in every other country,
Mm,
for the most part, but some cultures are better at it, are better at keeping that flow of innovation and new ideas moving forward. And I see a lot of this in companies as well, especially in tech, where everybody's pretty well paid. You have great benefits, you have snacks in the office, sometimes they even just feed you all the time. And like,
yeah,
why are you gonna try to build some crazy thing when you're like, well, I can just sit here for another 4 hours and push out some, mediocre work that makes things go a little bit further. And again, not everyone thinks this way, and I think a lot of people think they don't think this way. But I think when they become confronted with this notion of like, let's actually do something amazing or remarkable or like challenge what we think we could do, they
yeah.
revert to the like, oh, well, if I fail, I might make someone mad or lose my job, or I have to actually put in time and energy to do stuff, whereas I really understand my current job and what my scope of practice or the system I have or whatever. And it's really, really hard to have that innovation cycle broken once it's established that, don't try to step outside the box. And there's all sorts of like Aesop's fables talks about this. This is not a new idea with humans at all, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's we've forgotten all of this shit so much that people have to be reminded. But the biggest problem that I see is this kind of stagnation kicks in. You
Mm,
might get like a new executive or a new leader in the company who's like going to try something new. Everyone's really on board, and then all of a sudden, it's like two months later, and you haven't,
you lose steam. Yeah,
reinvented
yeah.
quantum physics or whatever the hell you're supposed to be doing, or what you've done is you've made progress, but the progress isn't matching what the expectations are, or people have just gotten tired because the cycle of thought in our society is about 10 seconds.
Mm,
And then, people start asking, where's the magic thing, or where are we going to see this big revenue, or they come up with a new obstacle that also wasn't kind of agreed on, and then that trips up the innovative cycle. And the oftentimes I'll hear like the counterbalance is you can't just let people like do whatever they want.
right.
And it's like, well, no, but if you're working with professionals, people who are highly skilled, highly practiced, highly knowledgeable in something, they're not fucking off. You're gonna have
Mm,
some people, and so like you'll hear. For anyone who's not worked in tech, like people have like Nerf gun fights and like ride bikes in the office. All this stuff's true, but it's also like these are people who tend to be really high performing people
mhm.
working 14, 16-hour days, and they need to like have some kind of fun or novelty in life, or they go crazy, and sometimes they just go crazy anyway,
And I was gonna say, yeah, who says
right?
they aren't already? But yeah.
And I'm not saying we should force people to work 16-hour days, but I've been there. I'm sure you've been there too, where it's like you get on a project or you're working with some people, or you're making really great progress in something, you're just highly motivated to keep going because
Yeah.
you're just creating something completely new. And any artist who's ever done this flow states, people have called it. So it it it's it's I think a lot of people who aren't creative, who aren't innovative, who then find themselves in executive positions who don't understand how this could possibly work. And that
Mhm.
like the first time you try it and it doesn't work, that's failure. And like the stuff anything remarkable seldomly happens the first time you try something.
Yes. Right. Right.
Right. And we've talked about failure management quite a bit, but I want to remind people again too. It's like that tends to be the biggest thing I see is it's like, well, we tried it and it didn't work. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
That's the
got
point.
it. Now we're gonna try
Yeah. Yeah.
this
Yeah. Now
thing.
try again. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And I think from like a management perspective, you have to be able to manage input time and cost. You have to you don't want to be spending millions and millions of dollars on something if you don't have millions and millions of dollars to spend. If you have billions of dollars, maybe you spend millions. But you have to and we've talked about this before too. You have to gate progress to a certain extent to understand the investment that we've done in time, energy, people, material, whatever. What did we learn? And like how did we fail? And like can we take those understandings and not fail again? And the next time we do the thing, how much more progress did we make? And
Right.
this
Right.
like rocket science is a great example, right? You get the rocket on the pad, it goes up, it blows up. Okay, well, what happened? Well, the fuel pump's leaky. Okay, we fixed the leaky fuel pump. We went up higher. It blew up. Now what happened? Well, because we got higher, things got colder and then the shield cracked or whatever the problems are. And then you finally get to orbit and you're like, sick, we did it. And then you try it again and then something blows up and you're like, why did it blow up? And you're like, helium's really hard to work with.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you described something like rocket science in that manner because I always associated engineers with the ones probably more capable of thinking that way, right? Because that's sort of what we're trained to do: is you
Yeah,
see a problem, you fix it, it doesn't work, you try another solution, right?
yeah,
But I've found that more recently, I've noticed that a lot of people have been falling into this like this perfectionism trap where
yeah,
like they don't even try because it's not ready yet, or
yeah,
they need to do this, they need to do X, Y, and Z before it can actually go out. And I do want to remind all the engineers out there that this is what we're trained to do: is to try a solution. If it doesn't work, figure out another solution or try something else. And it's that mentality that we keep talking about, the mindset, which I think people need to start adopting more, especially in the age
yeah,
of AI, is because
yeah.
you can iterate so fast. It's even easier to try things and find out they don't work. But that means you try something else, or you try and figure out what happened.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
the scientific mindset too, and it's very similar if it's
right.
not the
Yeah, exactly.
same,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
have an idea,
Even
have an
better.
hypothesis, the words get all polluted, but it's like know what you're trying to do, try it.
Right.
If it works, cool, you did it. If it doesn't work, figure out why it didn't work, and then can you still like should you still be trying to build a rocket? Okay, the fuel pump blow up. Okay, do you just say we're never building a rocket again because the fuel pump blew up, or do you try to fix the fuel
Right.
pump to say, can we? And people I think probably even hear this like, well, of course the rocket works. Well, we didn't know that for like 5,000 years.
Yeah.
Right, and when you look at the history of rocketry, it wasn't until, like, the '60s we really kinda got it down, and people had been working on it for probably 100 years before that,
Right. Right.
and sometimes you're too far out and you're trying to do something too hard or too ambitious, and it's just, you're too early, and if you don't have a shit ton of money, I guess you're just gonna go bankrupt and not accomplish your goal probably. But also maybe you're at a well-funded company and they're willing to do that investment. And as long as you can see demonstrative progress, um, and again, I guess I don't know why rocketry is on my mind, but I think it's really easy to see because it's a science engineering thing. And I think the stories have been really well told, but they also haven't been really well told. And like
Mhm.
Velcro is something I always kind of come back to. People are
Oh,
like,
interesting.
yeah, like that was invented for NASA because when you are not in gravity, you're floating around and it's really hard to do anything when you're just like floating around aimlessly in space.
Yeah.
And so they went through all sorts of different mechanisms to try to figure out like, can we like temporarily place a thing or a person in our capsule without it being crazy hard or, glue people down or have sticky surfaces. And they literally,
Right.
I mean, the story of Velcro is miraculous. Like they've tried thousands of things. And so they finally figured out, I think there's a little different Velcro pattern, but it's basically what everybody uses today in Velcro. And it's just two surfaces that have slightly different textures and they stick really well to each other, but not so well to most other things. And like Velcro will
Right.
sometimes stick to other shit, but it's like for the most part, it doesn't. That was a huge solution save that has also crazy amount of application. Like, could we have gone to the moon the first time had we not been able to stick somebody in the right spot? Or like had to
Hmm.
strap them in, like there's all sorts of ways to do this, but the idea that just a little bit of force will free you up and then you can move about what you need to do and then plunk yourself back down with a little bit more force and now you're kind of stationary and there's enough resistance in the Velcro to kind of keep you there. If there's no,
Right.
in space there's no force unless you're pushing force, so like you don't just like, it's not like on Earth where you
By the
fall
way, right.
down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like, maybe not, but we were able to make an innovation trying to solve a much larger problem of we have to get to the moon and back. How do we do this? And what do we
Mm.
do along the way when we're floating around for 4 days or whatever? And so then that became an application. And like in a company, if you're trying to build some crazy software product, you're trying to build some crazy innovation or some physical thing or whatever, a lot of times those learnings along the ways can become products that you sell or massive features
100%.
that differentiate the value. And I see a lot of executive folks struggle with that too, is they don't see the like the smaller short-term value, or they'll be like, that's what we do now. And then we're just going to go 100% into Velcro and we're only going to make Velcro. And it's like, well, there's all sorts of other fasteners that
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
could do, but we're also not trying to make a fastener company. We're trying to make a moon rocket.
Yeah. I think it's a key point that I don't know, maybe I've sort of forgotten to mention in my own when I sort of push innovation, but it definitely is. There's something within the process of the failing that you take out of it as well, right? It's not just
Yeah.
you build something or you try something, it fails, you move on to something else that's a little different. You
Yeah.
you have to take the learnings away from what you did the first time so you don't repeat the mistake the second
And that
time.
used to be experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right,
Right?
right.
And it seems to me like, especially in tech now, it's like, well, you built this thing, we want you to build that here.
Yeah, right.
Maybe, but like that's
You can't just lift whatever you built and just drop it in.
no,
It's like, yeah,
and the
yeah,
time and place for the thing that you did in the past made sense. And a lot of times it doesn't make sense in
right.
the present. And I see this so much with fucking AI stuff where it's like, we need to
Mm,
integrate AI into our product. Okay, what does it need to do? What are you trying to do that AI would be a good solution for? Well, you have to have
mm.
AI. Okay. Or we've built this chat feature. Everybody builds a fucking chat feature. It's a waste of time and energy most of the time. Sometimes it's good, but most of the time it's totally useless.
Good clarification.
I know, right? Well, I don't. I mean, I don't want to speak generally about all technologies, but it's like the hot craze, and it's like
Mm.
I almost want to talk about the app, but I don't. Hmm. Maybe I will. I'll try to be abstract enough where I don't totally soil the company, but it really pisses me
Okay.
off because it's a great why AI does not work and why I want nothing to do with it in my consumer product. So I have a sleep app that uses data collected overnight. There's plenty of companies who do this. And in the infinite wisdom of somebody at the fucking company, either the product manager or the product team or who knows, they decided that I need a morning summary of how I slept.
I think I know the product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, I guess maybe I didn't ask for this. I can't shut it off. I don't want it. I usually, excuse me, I know how I slept, right? I wake up and I'm
Yeah.
like, I feel like crap or I feel good or somewhere in between, right?
Mm.
It's like it's sleep. Everyone's done it. Everyone kind of knows. But I do like to see the biometric data sometimes, or it's like, especially um, if I've had a really long day of doing a lot of physical activity, or if I've not done enough physical activity, I'll kind of use that as a gauge of like, how well did I recover from the 30 miles of bike riding, mountain hiking I did or whatever. Okay, I should probably take it easy today, or maybe, my body's good. Let's, you know, um, training recovery for folks who are in that.
Yes. Yeah.
So now it gives me this fucking summary that I don't want, and it takes time, right? So I open the app
Yeah.
and like turn off the device,
Mm.
and uh and it's like generating your sleep summary. And the first time I saw this, I was like, what the fuck? And then it comes up with some bullshit LLM generated, like, oh, well, here, maybe I should just
You
do a
don't want
workout.
to. You don't want the active product, but you want.
I kind of want to make it just really, really easy for folks. But so one, I always tell people, like we kind of talked about this last time, if you're going to put AI in your product, you have to be okay with it being totally wrong.
Mm.
Generative AI, folks, it's sometimes happens. The last 3 mornings, it has
Oh
said,
no.
you did not sleep last night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's weird, because I certainly don't remember most of last night. And I'm pretty sure I went to bed and I fell asleep. So I've either been up for 3 days, or three full days, or the app could be wrong, or the AI could be wrong. And so I go down to the data, and the data, of course, is there, and I have a little sleep graph and all the little biometrics and telemetry and shit. And I'm like, it's literally on the same fucking screen, and it says, you did not sleep last night, and then the data that proves that I slept. And I was just like, one, I don't know how the fuck you fucked this up that bad.
Mm, mm,
That is bad. And it's like 3 out of 3 nights now, so we'll see what happens tonight. But I'm just like, this is why people get really frustrated with this stuff, because it's like AI, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but AI is really good at summarizing, and well, it can be really good at summarizing and contextual awareness, and sifting through kind of searchy. It's not really
yeah.
search, but it's
Right.
that idea. It can be really good for that. But you also have to know what the fuck you're doing. You have to also verify these output. And like the fact that it's like literally just flagging me as not slept,
Right.
I would think that would be a large signal to the product team being like, wow, this guy hasn't slept in 3 days. Like either he's like crazy, or like maybe there's something wrong that we should look at. And also, I didn't ask for this fucking feature. And no, I don't want my data going to their stupid AI,
Yeah.
fucking probably open AI, let's be honest. So that I don't, and now I'm just ranting because it really does make me mad, because it's just from, especially as a product person, or like recovering product
Yeah.
person, I'm like, this, like, you should be fired.
Yeah.
Like,
And
you
it
know
did.
who you are. Just fire yourself, just quit, do us all a huge favor. And this same company had an app version of about a year ago now that was kind of ugly, but it worked. They redid this like fancy looking, and it fucking doesn't work. The UI is terrible. It freezes all the time. The last thing I want is a sleep device to be hard to use when I'm
Mm,
waking up, trying to go to bed, or like wake up in the middle of the night and need to make some kind of an adjustment.
right. Right.
Do you use your own product? I don't
I know
remember
it.
my original point, but AI, oh,
The
AI
app-
and
yeah.
products, or it doesn't belong, right? So
Yes.
that's a good example of uh integrate AI into the product. I'm sure that's because I'm positive almost nobody's asking for this. And then
Mhm.
when we do integrate it into the product, it's absolute dog shit, and you have no way of measuring how dog shit it is, apparently, because it's been out for at least a week, and there isn't, like, give me a toggle to shut it off. But then
Mm,
that's a huge signal to the product team that nobody actually wants it, and then they can't justify their
yeah.
job. Um, or like, let me opt in, or let me tell you what I want to know,
Right.
right? Don't give me some generalized. And like when it does work, sometimes I think I've had it now for like 6 or 7 days, and it's worked 2 of the days. So of the 2 days that it worked, the first insight was total shit. It was just like, you
Yeah.
basically did sleep, and it was the same sleep that you usually do. I'm like, great. I'm so glad we
And
burned
do you?
electrons to tell me that.
Then
Right. And for folks who don't know about this shit, it like the sleep data is duration, type of sleep, your heart rate, your heart rate variability, pulse ox, like all these data points are coming in, and like you can tell just by looking at the data in a very like boring data science way, like roughly how you did. You don't need AI to do this. We're not
Right.
summarizing millions of data points, or like theoretically AI can help like give you context or like enrich that process. But when they give me an enrichment of you didn't sleep at all and then the data is clearly there, like it's not useful. So anyway,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna finish rant there.
I mean, we
Stop
did
putting
talk a
AI
little.
and shit. I've built, and for folks who are still with us and are maybe new, I've been doing AI shit for too long, and I've built AI models, I've built transformers, I've built
Yeah.
all sorts of other types of non-transformer sequence models and AI. And I'm now of the opinion, don't put it in my fucking product. Like I don't want it. If I want it, if you're gonna do it, give me a way to turn it on or turn it off.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I was
And I
gonna
build
say,
AI job right now. I'm using AI to build AI products,
yeah,
right?
a fun
Don't put
joke
it in my
product.
products.
A fun joke product would be basically cramming as much AI anti-patterns as you can into an app, and then have people use it and see what
Maybe
their
I'll do
experience is
that and be like, this is the most
this is
AI app, AI.
right. AI.
Well, now I feel like we're committing a hate crime since we're AI and we're railing on
Oh,
AI
I
so
mean,
much.
people do that all the time, or that happens all the time. It's okay.
AI on AI
No, I'm not denying
violence.
it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I
That should
do
have been the
have a
title. That should have been the title.
AI on AI violence. Maybe next week.
Yes,
We'll
yes,
see.
yes. All right.
But yeah, I gotta to hop because I have a hard stop that I've already
Yep.
overrun. But it's been fun. Happy Friday.
Yes. Have a nice weekend
We'll
and see you
solve
next
it
week.
next week.
Yeah. We'll just turn some